All right, Sonka, welcome to the show. Welcome to Mastering You. Thanks so much for coming on. And it's always a pleasure to meet someone who's really interested in mindset and helping people overcome their limiting beliefs and building their confidence. But my first question was really just to find out a little bit more about you and how you came to do what you do today, which is helping women find their amazingness.
Yes, it is. Hello, Matthew. Yes, thank you very much for having me. It's always a pleasure, and I love sharing in this little world as much as we can.
Yeah.
So we can give as much value between us as we can. No, thank you for having me. Yes, so I'm Sonka. I'm intuitive life coach, registered nutritional therapist, and NLP practitioner. That's my passion, but I also work as a full-time mechanical engineer, which is something kind of trying to flip it around to do full-time intuitive life coaching and maybe slowly leaving the engineering world, which served me well, but it's time to move
Mm.
on. So that's my background. Yes, yeah, you're right. My journey, as most of us, brought me to do what I do today, and what my passion is. And it actually happened through two different journeys. The main one was that I was never really petite, or I was never obese, but I was never tiny girl. It was always all around me. And I never felt comfortable in my own skin, in my own body. I always felt like I have to carry my body around like this one annoying friend who nobody likes, but kind of you have to tolerate. And it
What
just
age did this start? Or
actually, since I remember, when you start being aware of your body, your image, even though I wasn't growing up in such a media influenced environment, because I grew up in communism. I'm from Slovakia originally. So the media influence wasn't as strong, but still kind of awareness, body image, and looking at other girls, comparing myself to what I look like. And I always looked a little bit different with my curly hair, and actually I need glasses as well now, contact lenses, thank God for them. But when I was little, massive glasses, big curly hair. There was no straighteners back then. And this for me, which seemed really big body to carry around, so the combination obviously wasn't particularly helpful for my confidence and for my mindset. But thankfully, I was never really to dieting as such.
yeah.
So I didn't torture my body with that too much. It was more mindset, which was a torture. I also ended up being bullied at high school just because of everything I named. Basically, kids were just confirming what I was thinking, which I know now. So it didn't help. Uh, so it was more through my mindset and confidence. So I kind of got to the point that I didn't even think it's necessary for me to lose weight, because what's the point? I'm not popular anyway. So it was quite an interesting journey, but it taught me a lot, and I'm very grateful for it, because that's the partly why I'm doing what I'm doing today.
Mm.
And then years and years later, um, I actually decided, right, I need to do something. And it was after one of the girls at the gym asked me whether I'm pregnant, and I wasn't.
Right. Yeah.
So I was like,
It's always a
right,
nice thing to happen, isn't it?
yes, yeah, and she meant it well, and she was getting excited for me, but yeah, and what she received, the look, I don't know. I think
I bet.
she would still remember it, I'm sure. So I came home actually crying. And at that point I already was engaged to my current husband. And I said, right, this is not how I want to approach the wedding. And all the wedding bride perfect, day started. And it was the first time when I actually got on very strict diet. And it was the Dukan diet I was doing. And for my body and in general, I believe is one of the worst diets you can be on, because it's very high in protein, uh, zero vegetables, zero carbs, and
Yeah, the
fat
Dukan's like
only.
a bit like the Atkins, right?
Well, Atkins is more fat, which at least you've got a little bit of energy from it, and things,
Mm.
but
So the Dukan's more like a
The Dukan is
carnivore.
just literally protein. And when I do something, I do it quite well. So I literally stick with it to the letter. And that caused my system going bonkers, my hormones, my digestion, everything went. I lost 12 kilos, which was amazing, quite quickly within 6 months or 7 months. So I looked the best I've ever looked in my eyes, but I felt the worst I've ever felt in my life. No energy,
Interesting.
my hair went flat, I lost shine, my nails were chipping, which I've never had problems with. I looked pale, I was constantly tired, constant fatigue. I said, well, this is not how I want to approach the wedding. This is not how I want to feel at all. I need to do something and fast. And that's when I got to nutrition. So it was part of
You
my
started to
journey.
investigate it for yourself.
Yes, exactly. Just Google friend, whatever, started with anything and everything, supplements as you do, and slowly kind of trying to understand through food what to eat, or more of how to arrange my plate, what needs to be on it. And it started working pretty quickly because I was so malnutrition from the diet that my body was just hungry literally for all the nutrients. So it started picking up and recovering very quickly. But then people started asking me, oh, what are you doing? Because you're looking much better. I wasn't putting weight on, which at that point I didn't even care anymore
Yeah.
because I felt so bad. So you look better, and what are you doing? And I didn't know why it works. So I said, right, I want to study this. And that's when I decided to do my diploma in nutrition, and I did 3 years. Into a 3 years course while still working full time. So it was over the weekends, but it was great fun. And ended up being qualified as a registered nutritional therapist. So it was the part of the journey. Started practicing part-time afterwards. And as soon as I started practicing, every single client came in and I was like, yes, that's great. We can do the broccoli and all the food things, but there's your mindset, which I have no tools to help you with. And in some cases, it was to the point that actually I had to recommend counseling or something similar, which thankfully, personally, I've never had any experience with. So I wasn't really sure what am I recommending, what these people need. And also I felt like I'm just doing half a job because it's like I can't help you with your mindset, but if you don't sort your mindset out, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day how much broccoli you're gonna eat, because it's
Yeah,
your
and
mind which
this
will
is the
keep
issue that
you.
we have, isn't it,
Yeah.
in today's world, is there's so much information out there, and there's,
Mm,
good and bad, obviously,
yeah.
but no amount of good information, even if all the information was good, you've still got to implement it, and I've sort of been on the same similar journey. I spent many years, studying exercise, then nutrition, and then I was like, well, but even the best exercise program in the world and the best nutrition plan is useless if the mindset to implement it isn't quite there. So what
Yeah.
did you do next?
So actually, I started, as we may say, kind of repel clients because I didn't feel so I can help them. So obviously, universe didn't bring many in, and I was like, that's fine, it is what it is. But then I was like, I'll just do my engineering and sit in my comfortable zone. But I got to the point just before lockdown last year. I was like, right, I can't imagine myself doing this for another 10, 15 years, whatever it takes. I want to go back to my passion, but I want to have another tool which I feel like I've got a whole package. So I completed NLP practitioner course and timeline therapy course. And in summer this year, I'll be doing master practitioner in both of them. And as soon as I learned about NLP, which is neuro linguistic programming, so it's basically simply said that talking to our subconscious mind, trying to bypass our conscious logical mind, but not to the point that people are not aware of it. There's no trance as such, there's not hypnotherapy. you are fully aware of what's happening. It's just kind of using different words to bring your subconscious mind on the board and reframe your past so you can benefit from it, learning and change how you're going to react to similar situations in the future. So
Yeah.
that's basically wrapped
Yeah.
up in simpler terms. So with that, I just felt like, right, I've got a whole package now. Because, for instance, even for me, when I lost the weight and I was absolutely feeling really confident and everything, but I don't know whether you've noticed with your clients perhaps as well, that confidence very much comes with image.
Yep.
Instead of kind of looking, how do I feel? People are, I think I feel confident because I look better now. I lost some weight, which always a little bit bothered me because it's like, okay, what if anything happens in your life and you put that weight back on? And it was same for me because I know while I was feeling like, yes, this is what I want to look like and this is my ideal, I was absolutely fine. Confidence was there, energy was there. But as soon as I put something on, like clothing, and I felt like, oh, I've got a little more like kind of curve here or curve there, I could feel literally just on the spot my confidence dropping. I was like, what's this?
Mm.
So that's why it was so important for me. It was like, it's still that mindset didn't catch up. So if I put my weight back on, if anything happens in my life and I won't be able to keep this up or keep this off,
Yeah.
am I going to be miserable again? I don't want it, you know.
Mm.
So changing, reframing
And
the
how
mindset,
long
and
now have you been a weight that you're kind of comfortable and happy with? You said that when you started to implement what you'd learned, you started to see quite quick results.
yes, it was
Um,
when it comes to nutrition and nourishing my body. So the energy levels, the skin, the nails, the hair, it was just improving very quickly. So obviously that was rising the confidence. I felt better. I wasn't that pale anymore. So it was pretty constant. Maybe it was like a 3 months,
were there any
which
particular food groups that you felt were really having the biggest bang for buck difference, or was it more of just of a combination of just eating a more of a balanced, healthy diet?
I think I concentrating very much on vegetables because with my research, I found that those are the most potent.
Yeah.
They are the most potent compounds when it comes to vitamins and minerals. And also, I learned about eating rainbow, which it was quite easy for me because I never really liked counting calories, vitamin, minerals. I just didn't. I wanted to do it sustainable way as well and
Yeah.
simple way. So eating rainbow, so to make sure I've got as many colors on my plate or through the day as possible, because every color means that there is different combination of vitamins and minerals. So eating the rainbow, eating the red, orange, purple, green, yellow. So you are standing pretty good chance that you are covering most of the minerals and
Yeah,
vitamins. And it's a very simple way doing it without counting anything, isn't it?
yeah,
So
it's a
that was
good
my
metric, isn't it?
focus.
I mean, rather
Yeah.
than, counting calories, counting the types of how many different colors that you have on your plate or over a course of a day, it's easier to do that.
Yeah. Helps you shopping as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it forces you to try different recipes and different foods, and
Yeah.
so you obviously work with a lot of people with regards to their food. What are some of the most common challenges that people have?
Habits.
Habits, which is why you got
Habits.
into reprogramming the subconscious, is helping people with,
Yes.
yeah.
The
What
habit.
habits are the biggest challenges?
Well, the biggest one I find to break is when it comes to alcohol and having that one drink every night after work
Yeah.
or heavy day or heavy week, and that the deservance of having that one drink or having whatever it is, but usually it's drink. People are broccoli, yeah, fine. Beetroot, yeah, I can try that. What? Stop drinking? No, what do you mean? And this is no judgment in it. It's just fact because
Yeah.
it's very satisfying, isn't it? It's triggering the dopamine. It is a kind of rewarding thing to have, and it's habit. It's a ritual. So we actually end up thinking we we are benefiting from it. And we don't want to break that habit. So that's the most common one. Another habits are usually around meal preparation and things, how people tend to work and how they perceive preparation for food and planning. In this world, I can see that many people are just shopping on their go whenever, I need something for dinner, so I'm grabbing things from the shop, which is fine. In general, I try to encourage people to batch cook at least for 2 or 3 days. But the main thing for me is just having a cupboard what you want to eat, and start breaking those habits before you get up and get those biscuits. So kind of question to ask is, how do you know you want biscuit, or how do you know you want a glass of wine? And instead of waiting for that moment, acknowledging or being aware what leads to it, that's the point to break that habit, whatever habit it is. And decide, okay, if I've got this urge, I'll go and do this instead. So you already have got a plan in your head.
I think
to kind of
I think with obviously I don't know if you've noticed. I mean, particularly the alcohol is I mean, that those two that you mentioned, actually, the challenges around alcohol consumption and also meal planning are definitely ones that come up with our clients quite often. But obviously, the stress of the pandemic has probably heightened a lot of these habits that people had already, but
definitely
increased them. It reminds me of one of my favorite quotes, which is that the problem isn't the problem, and that sometimes we can beat ourselves up for thinking that we've got some sort of alcohol problem, or we've got some sort of sugar addiction, or we're just rubbish at eating well. Where actually there's often, we had Sophie Medlin on the podcast last week and we were talking about it as well. There's you could go 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 layers down to find where the real problem is. I mean, with regards to the pandemic, you know, some for many people it's affected their lives in a massive way. For all of us, obviously, it's affected us in terms of not being able to see our close family, friends, and relatives, and the emotional impact and mental impact that is having on us, without many of us probably really owning up to it and understanding it. It's no surprise that we're gonna, if there are means of having that, like you say, that dopamine hit via alcohol and that stress release at the end of a day, it's no surprise that I think alcohol consumption has gone up massively. I think
and
supermarkets
I'm glad you
report.
mentioned it, because it's on any level really. If you are feeling that you are being addicted to something, or you've got a habit which is problem for you, because for some people they have a pack of biscuits every day and it's no problem for them, so it's nothing to solve. It's only a problem, as you said, when either it may not be a problem for you, it's just you feel like it should be, or in 99% of the time it just goes deeper than that. And pandemics or not, it's I say with clients that, okay, you're having that drink every day, but why is it? What is it you're actually expressing through the drink? What is it? Is it confidence? Is it, because basically if it's a problem for you and you're not supposed to have it, or you don't want to have it, you're sabotaging your health, you're sabotaging yourself. Because if you are aware that it's not good for you, why you are still doing it then? Other than the habit, but why that habit formed? What is it covering up? Is it confidence? Is it fear? And this fear, I don't even mean like just pandemics. It can be from childhood. It can be, from time we don't even remember what happened to us. And that's the beauty of neurolinguistic programming, that we don't even need to be aware of the event to actually reframe it and change our habits. So it's always obviously I don't like using always words, but in this case I'm not afraid to use it, because it's always something deeper than that. So it's always time to stop and ask questions. Why am I doing this to myself? Why am I not honoring my body? What is there hidden for me to explore and learn from?
Well, that's the number one reason I started mastering you, because I noticed this and had done for many years is a bad habit would show up and people would start to identify as that they're the person that just has that bad habit,
Yeah.
and not realizing that actually with a little bit of personal development work and a little bit of introspection and the ability to ask a few questions of yourself and learn a bit about yourself and learn about your behaviors and learn why they exist and where they come from, and
Yeah.
actually then get to the point to learning, oh, I can actually change these. Realize now that I have this. I'm owned up to it. I've taken some personal responsibility for it, and once, one of the things that I get a lot out of is once people make that first big breakthrough and they realize that they're the ones in control, and the
Mm.
alcohol or the sugar or the caffeine doesn't have to be the thing that is in control. They can actually take control of it.
It's very
Then,
liberating for people.
oh,
You can
massively.
see them lit up when they, I'm so glad I didn't have, and I didn't even need it. I was like, yeah, it's amazing, and it's just heartwarming when you see them taking that responsibility, and just the kickstart the process, doesn't it? Because they start believing in themselves that actually they can make a change.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that the key word that always comes to my mind, that the one that one of my coaches, Dax Moy, uses is joy. Like joy,
Mm.
when you can override a bad habit by finding joy in another habit that that exceeds that,
Yeah.
then it becomes easy. You don't have like, there's always this sort of narrative around having more self-discipline and having trying to find the motivation, and
Mm.
actually that's a really bad strategy, because there's no such, you can't just find, you don't find you don't sometimes one day just open a cupboard and be like, oh, there's the motivation I've been looking for. Like, it's just
Yeah.
never going to happen. It's inside you already, but yes, I suppose you could say you've got to find it from inside you, but ultimately it's about creating it, and you do that by experimentation. What are some of the top strategies that you sort of work with your clients in if you want to use the term finding your motivation and self-discipline?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I try to break that myth that they can just find the motivation. Motivation comes through is a result, isn't it? Is a result of something we are putting in, and it's result of consistency. So what I try to concentrate on with my clients is that consistency, and seeing the bigger picture. Because first thing I'm trying to kind of uh, I'll use term get out of their head is that is a long it's a quick fix. When people work with me, it's a long term, it's a lifestyle change. So finding that consistency and taking it step by step at their pace is probably the first thing I'm trying to get across. That there is no right way or wrong way doing it. These are I give them principles to work with, so they don't need recipes when they work with me. They don't need
Love that.
they don't need to have shopping list and new ingredients which you can't even pronounce. Sometimes you don't know where to get them. So with principles, I teach them. They doesn't matter whether they are at home preparing their meals, whether they are out dining with friends, whether they are just on the go and stopping in one of the supermarkets. They know what's best from the choice they've got in front of them, or from the option they've got in front of them. What will fuel them the best? What will serve them the best? So very much the principles: good fat, good protein, good carbohydrates. As simple as that.
Yeah.
And the rainbow. It doesn't need to be any more complicated. So keeping it very simple for people. Uh, Another one, which is very very small advice, but I find it very helpful for people, is that don't try to change everything you're doing already. What's wrong with roast dinner? Just maybe
Yeah.
remove the Yorkshire pudding.
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
like
and,
a it's
and
like an
add
English
a little bit more
breakfast as well.
broccoli. Exactly.
Yeah, English
Exactly.
breakfast done properly can be one of the healthiest breakfasts you
Can
can
be,
have.
yeah. And to be honest, I like my bacon now and then, but I source it well. So we talk a lot about the quality
Yeah,
of food and where it comes from. Um, so little things like that. Yeah, don't try to change everything, but try to remove a little bit of, if you've got a pasta dish, don't put as much of pasta. Add some broccoli, green beans, steamed carrots, and just make it a little bit more colorful and fill up your plate with things like that. Don't try and choose one vegetable a week.
yeah,
Look up the recipe, choose one vegetable, and just try to find a way you actually like it and implement slowly. And it's okay. You don't expect, nobody expects from you to be 100% all the time. And I think that's the big one with people, because they think it's, I either eat healthily all the time or I'm not. And if I've got a one bed, what they call bad day, I failed
yeah,
and
yeah.
I spoiled everything. No, I would have a takeaway. I would have a pizza, but I don't live on it. And I very much choose when I have got it, and it's my choice to have it. But my body can deal with it because most of the time I'm fueling it with the right things.
Yeah, and the other
You
thing is
know,
when you get your body to the there's a term that I use with our clients which is the light at the end of the tunnel. So
mm,
because I feel like a lot of people when they start their weight loss journey, it feels because they've tried so many diets before and they've had so
mm,
much so many bad experiences before. I think it's really important for people to know that they don't have to live on chicken, broccoli, and fruit. That they can introduce foods back in, or they don't even have to cut everything out either to get
no,
there.
no,
But the
absolutely
light
not.
at the end of the tunnel is the fact that when your body gets to a certain healthy weight and you build your metabolism up to through good training as well, you're if you do have that bad cheat night or you have a takeaway, and your body's ability to actually metabolize that food and actually hormonally not be affected by it so
Mm,
much is huge in comparison to if that is the way that you live every single day of your life. And so that is kind of the and I suppose in some ways that's not that's celebrating a cheat night, which definitely don't want to do, but I just don't like people to feel like they can never have
it's
a
all or
takeaway again,
nothing.
or
Yeah.
demonizing food. Like, and again, we had this conversation. I had this conversation with Sophie Medlin. Is this black and white thinking of, oh,
Mm,
well, this is I'm either really good or really bad, and there's no in between. But like everything in life, there's so much of a middle ground, and you don't have to be like obviously you'd gone when you first attempted to lose weight on the Dukan diet, and going extreme and just eating almost like a carnivore diet. It's quite an
mm.
extreme thing to do.
And
And
then you go
whereas,
another extreme. I just been trying to eat raw, and cook every day, and you're just going through phases. You're finding yourself, and what's good for me, it doesn't have to work for you. So one important thing is actually 2 points you actually kind of brought into my mind is that I always work based on my clients' values rather than my
yeah,
own values,
mm,
because I use the example, this never happened, but I use the example like obese client may walk into my clinic and I think, right, we are going to work on a weight loss. And this person may come up with completely different problem,
mm,
skin
yeah,
issues or whatever that is, or backache or, so what my perception of your problem is, it may not be a problem for you at all. So that's one of the first things we work on is values, because actually many times people don't even know their own values. So again, this NLP helps me to actually get those values out of people so they are consciously aware of them, because we would act on our values subconsciously anyway. So if you are aware of them consciously, so it's the one thing which will help you in motivation to make sure you are putting energy into the right things which are very important for you.
that's a really
And
good
this
point. Yeah, Sorry, Karen.
Yeah, no, sorry. And the second point, you said, yeah, the body, when you're fueling it with the, let's call it right things, most of the time, it's like the response, stress response of our body will be much better overall, as you mentioned. So whatever happens or whatever you end up eating, it will deal with it better, because basically fueling body with the right things, so what it actually recognizes, you are at the same time removing stress internally from your body. So it doesn't have to deal with things it doesn't recognize. And I always explain this to my clients, like, imagine that you've got dwarfs for everything. There's one dwarf having one thing to do in your body, and it's waiting for this cofactor, this vitamin or mineral to come in so it can grab it and run it where it's supposed to go. And now imagine you are feeding it with something it doesn't recognize. So all these things are coming in, and you're just looking at it. It's like, what looks the closest? So it just grabs it and runs with it. And sometimes it really doesn't know where it belongs. So it just chucks it into your fat cells or chucks it through the liver and your kidney. So it has to process it. Uh, and it's lots of stress for this little dwarf. And imagine you've got millions of them. So removing this stress from the body, fueling it with compounds, with minerals and vitamins, which recognizes. So it literally just grabs it right. I know where that efficiency of the body, and then it can work on its optimal. So it's stress removed massively. Inflammation from exercise can be dealt with better. And then obviously whatever environment brings us, we can deal with better.
I mean, that's amazing. I really like everything you just said there. I think one of the things that yourself and talking to a dietitian, Sophie Medlin, last week as well, is it just reminds me of actually just how important nutrition really is. And I
Yeah.
think it kind of reminds me of some, my interest in nutrition came just after receiving a cancer diagnosis 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at the fittest I've ever been, to be honest, ever since. I've never quite got back to how fit I was then. But the cancer wasn't a lifestyle cancer, wasn't caused by anything, but it made me realize that actually it just doesn't matter how fit you are. You can get illnesses regardless of that. And I opened the can of worms of nutrition. And even as a PT back 10 years ago, I didn't quite realize just to the extent what significance nutrition has. Because for most people in their teens and their 20s, that your metabolism is stronger, and weight management is a little bit easier. And then from the ages of sort of 30, 40, generally the decline of the metabolism happens somewhat. um, but was there a period of time during your own journey? I know you sort of struggled a little bit with your weight, but when you started to delve into understanding nutrition, did you have that sort of light bulb moment as well, when you realized, wow, this isn't just like about the food, isn't just about just getting your body like where you want to, so you feel a bit healthier. Actually, it just impacts our life in so many other different ways.
Oh, absolutely. It's and as I was going through those 3 years of the course, every lecture, especially the first year, it was like, oh my God, the impact. We have no idea, why is this kept quiet? I need to get this out to the world. Because and even on a small scale like that, because I always cooked. I wasn't brought up on takeaways. So we didn't have a McDonald's when I was little, or anything similar, any other takeaways or anything. It wasn't. I was taught to cook from scratch, and I was still doing that in my adult life. But actually, it was meat and potatoes, because that's what I was brought up on. So I was thinking, oh, it can't be a food which is making me or stopping me to lose weight or anything, because I'm just cooking from scratch. I go and buy everything, but actually I hardly ate any vegetables. It wasn't balanced a diet I was on. Meat, rice, meat, potatoes, and every day. So that was a big eye opener for me, and I had to go and relearn how to shop, how to cook. So I can completely feel for people who are going through the same process, because despite of me knowing how to cook, I still had to relearn. I had no idea what to do with beetroot when I bought it.
Mm.
For the first time, avocado, what do I do with this? It looks like fun looking pear. So it was all completely new, but yes, I definitely understood that this is not what I call healthy, and it just doesn't work for me. And I was doing lots of exercise because I always tried through exercise to lose weight. So I could come home exhausted from PT session, literally crawling, not being able to move next day. I
Yeah.
didn't lose any weight.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was because my body wasn't getting the fuel it needed to actually let go of that weight, because I was still starving it. Full table, meat, potato, rice, but it was still malnutrition and starved because I didn't have any minerals and vitamins.
Yeah.
So it was a big eye opener for me. Kind of,
This is a big thing that I see as well, like in helping people lose weight, is that their focus can be overtaken on just the amount of calories.
mm,
And obviously, we can't get away from the fact that there does need to be a deficit of calories if someone wants to lose weight. But when that focus of just the deficit is overridden by the nutrient density of the food that they're actually eating, then we have big problems because, number one, if your body isn't getting the nutrients it needs, then obviously it's going to make it harder to be in the deficit because you're going to have more cravings for more food.
yeah,
And so it's a bit of a snowball effect. You kind of going around in circles, and this is why so many people, who are following these diets, quote unquote, that
mm,
are low calorie or low in fat, but actually they're also low in nutrition. And this is
yeah,
a message that we're trying to get through to a lot of people is, you know spend a few more pennies on the good stuff, because overall it's going to even out because you're going to eat less of the bad stuff.
absolutely. And I'm glad you said that, because it's definitely one of the things which is kind of hard to comprehend for people. That if I buy meat, if you are a meat eater, and if you buy meat at butchers, local butchers, where is it, grass fed, I think it's not going to shrink to half when you cook it.
Yeah.
You benefit from everything you bought, and it's much more satisfying, and your body won't need as much of it. And the same applies to vegetables, so because there may be not enough on your plate compared to pile of pasta, but actually what you are fueling your body with, it's happy with, and that's all it needs. And I don't know whether you find it with your clients, but also it was my big kind of, let's call it mistake, but there are not such a thing, but just to put a name on it. Every time I started exercising, I started eating less, or didn't eat more than I used to before I started exercising.
Mm.
And it was another reason why I didn't lose weight. And actually, my hormones were all over the top. I could tell through the months that I was really struggling. I was tired, cranky, and already nutritional therapist, knowing that I need to up my, but again, mindset was such, I need to keep the weight off. I need to keep the weight off. So it was my limiting belief I really had to work on, because I was not eating enough and therefore starving my body, and therefore I wouldn't be able to lose weight unless I would take the exercise to extremes, which again is not what we want. So it's
Yeah.
another one to look for, not just counting calories, whether you are not eating enough, or but also whether you are eating enough, whether you're not eating
Mm.
too much, but also whether you are eating enough and fueling your body adequately to your exercise and to your activity levels.
What does a typical day look like for you then, Sonko, in terms of your own, you know, uh, choices of food? Are you a sort of 2, 3 meal a day person? Are you a snacker, or are you just
I try 3 meals a day now since I started exercising again. I go for 3 meals a day. I've got really good breakfast. It's either porridge with seeds nuts fat in it, like a coconut oil, a little bit of cinnamon to help with the sugar balance, blood sugar balance. What else do I put in? Some raisins just for sweetness, and apple, extra fiber, and
Yep.
also GI low fruit with it. Sometimes a little bit of honey. So that's my porridge. And for diversity, I also tend to use hemp uh, or
Hemp,
buckwheat
hemp protein or right.
flakes
Oh,
or
okay.
protein, or buckwheat most of the time.
Mm.
So just to gut diversity a little bit. So that's one alternative. Or I do it as the overnight oats. Basically
Yeah.
same, just
Yeah.
overnight oats. And my second alternative is avocado, pile of spinach, egg of some kind, usually poached egg, sauerkraut. Yes, for breakfast, I absolutely love it.
Yeah. Yeah. I do
and
too.
and something green, yellow, or something red and yellow. It's either tomatoes or pepper, cucumber, sometimes even quinoa, just if I need something more substantial or
Mm.
want something more substantial. But yeah, avocado, egg, and pile of spinach. It's always there, and whatever I choose to
Nice.
have it with it. Yeah, so it's my breakfast. Then sometimes I do have a snack during the day. Depends how my day is. When I've got a lots of meetings, I do tend to have a handful of nuts, walnuts. If you don't like any other nuts, walnuts I would definitely recommend. They've got lovely balance of omegas 6 and 3 and 6. So and some dark chocolate, 70 plus. A little bit of dark chocolate just to fuel me a little bit through the meetings. Then lunch, it would be any kind of. I am meat eater, so it will be some well sourced meat, but most of my plate would be vegetables of all sorts of colors. Roasted broccoli, roasted cauliflower. I always have some cruciferous vegetables on my plate,
Yeah.
at least once a day. And then carrot, beetroots, butternut squash, just to bring those colors of
I
all
really
kinds
like the
in.
colors thing. You've made me
Yeah,
think about my own diet, and that, I
good.
obviously do this for a living, but it's always good to kind of reflect on. I like the colors thing. I think I could up my game on the amount of
Mm.
colors I get at my
And we
meals.
get to
Well,
the habits as well, don't we? Eating the same vegetables again. So
mm,
going by color, it opens the possibilities, and you can look for something different maybe to try.
yeah, yeah. It's just a. I think the thing is with nutrition is people get bored themselves of it. And so
Yeah, yeah.
if you've got a way of just making it a little bit more exciting and just you might not like it, but you might it's that whole thing. I mean, I was thankfully brought up really well in the fact that I was sort of try stuff
Hmm.
and I
Yeah.
think that's really good if you've been brought up that way because you're more open to trying different foods and what a shame if you go through life and you miss out on certain
Yes,
food groups that are
absolutely.
just amazing.
Mm. Yeah, no,
So
definitely. Yes, and then I would have a third meal before 7 o'clock because I do practice intermittent fasting. So I wouldn't eat. I do drink between 7 and 9 o'clock in the morning, 7 in the evening and 9 o'clock in the morning. I would have a herbal teas, but nothing what would necessarily spike the or kick the insulin in fully. So and that would be my
so
day
you
really.
fast between what times? Between 7
I
p.m.
stop eating before 7 p.m. if possible,
Yep.
and I usually don't have my breakfast before 9 o'clock day
Yeah.
after.
That's
So
not a massive
that's my
fast,
no
but
no. It's enough. I don't push it too hard because again I have to watch my hormones, and it just depends. You need to know your body. I know my body is not responding particularly well to anything longer than that.
mm,
And I don't sleep well if I don't if I leave the gap longer. I do wake up around 2:30, 3 o'clock, which is
yeah.
usually a sign that your sugar levels dropped and your liver is kind of releasing. So yeah, that works for me. And yeah, and what I'm trying to do, I try to eat at the same time every day. So regime
Okay.
for me
Yeah.
and is really important.
And the
Um,
thing is, for people listening, the biggest thing is there's no hard and fast rules, are there? There
no,
used to be this myth, particularly around weight loss. I think the worst one was you've got to eat like every 2 hours, and you've got to eat 4 to 5 times a day, which really just came from
yeah,
the bodybuilding world. But I think the key is just experiment and try stuff. Like for me, I've found my sweet spot, which is essentially if I'm having more of a non-training day, I just eat 2 meals a day, and
hmm
I fast. Similar to you, I sort of fast from about 8 p.m. to about 11 a.m., sometimes 12 o'clock, and I'll
hmm
have like a brunch around 12, maybe sometimes 1 o'clock, and then I just won't eat until my 7 p.m. And that works for me. But then on days when I'm having a big training session, I feel like I need the extra calories, and I'll maybe have a breakfast, and I'll maybe have like an afternoon snack and a protein shake as well. But you have to kind of experiment, don't you?
absolutely. That's why I like kind of giving people the principles I lived by, but not necessarily my way of using them,
Yeah,
if it makes sense. So they can go and they can start with me as an example. This is what I do, or based on what you're doing, because I always ask for a food breakdown, what they eat through the day when. So try to incorporate it into their habits already. And if it doesn't work, it's up to them to communicate to me and to themselves, listening to the body. As you said that, I feel I need more calories. And you will know when you're listening to your body what
yeah.
works and what doesn't work for you. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, even as far as hunger, like if sometimes we get people to off to one of our we work on, same as you, we work on a principle based approach to nutrition, and I think that's absolutely key because it gives you far more control in different ways of in your life. When you're caught out, and or maybe you go to a work meeting and they've got a buffet of different foods, and maybe a lot of them aren't great, or you're going shopping, but if you've got a principle, like a filter to work through, and you can base that on, well, what am I doing tonight, what am I eating tonight? Okay, well, it's going to be quite a low carby meal, so maybe I could get away with just having this for lunch as well as this, and just having those principles of getting enough fruit, vegetables, protein. Again, hydration is one of our principles as well, making sure you
Yeah,
get enough
definitely,
good
which is often
fluids.
forgotten. Yeah.
Oh, I think it's probably the number, you know, even though it's not a food, it's when it comes to food, it's the one of the number one biggest issues is people just don't drink and just
Yeah.
drinking too
Not drink
much
enough water.
stimulants.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they're dehydrated and they lack energy, and then what do? Because they lack energy, they eat a lot of carbs and they
Or go for
consume more
coffee. Yeah.
stimulants.
Mm.
So yeah, I think that's absolutely key is having that principle based approach.
Yeah, I find that it really works, and it gives there's a certain level of liberation to people because they it removes the worry about going out, eating out. Uh, there's the socializing aspect when we can get back to it because it was. I find it was quite a big one when it comes to again mindset for people. Yeah, but I'll be awkward one when we go for a meal. Why would you be? What's stopping you to have what would you normally have?
Yeah,
You just take a consequence you may not feel as well because cleaner you eat, the more body will respond if you are eating something which is not particularly clean. But also 100% clean diet is not something I advocate because the diversity of microbiome and immunity and everything comes from kind of being exposed to different things. So
yeah,
100%
that's a
clean
good point.
diet
Yeah, I hadn't thought
is
about
not my that's not something. When you come to see me, it doesn't mean you can't have a glass of wine unless it's really a problem,
that.
and it doesn't mean you can't have a chocolate. It doesn't mean you can't go out with girls, have a coffee and cake or
Mm,
afternoon tea. It's just let's talk about quality. Let's talk about how often it happens and just enjoy life. That's all I want people to do, just enjoy it, just overthink it, listen to your body, and if you make a choice, be happy with that. Whatever choice you make, don't make yourself feel guilty or that you failed. Just make a choice, accept it, and move on. Kind of, because sometimes lots of stress comes just from, oh, I ate that and I ate that, and then still 3 hours or even next day telling colleagues at work that what you shouldn't have. Oh,
Mm.
well, you had it, move on. What's your choice today? It
Yeah,
doesn't matter, it's not going to
yeah.
harm you. Yeah.
People are really good at building, like creating more stress than need to be, and just
Yeah.
it can be a lot more simple. With regards to the whole meal planning side of things, just to kind of like tie things up for people so they can have some like practical thought processes. Do you have
Sure.
any sort of suggestions around how people go about, actually scheduling their weekly shop and scheduling what meals they're going to have? Like, do you recommend like a 1 or 2 week rotational plan, or do you recommend having freedom and within the structure,
um I
or just
usually
living
with
off
this
those
one,
principles?
usually I go off what they are doing already, because I always ask for example for 7 days,
Yeah.
so it gives me a good indication of what they are doing already, and I'm trying to change only what's necessary, uh, mainly to just control their sugar levels. But I don't try to kind of change what they're doing on principle about how they shop and such. I try to encourage what they buy. So I don't really have a rule for this one. I really take it case by case. But in general, if I was to give a little bit of kind of guidance on that, I try to sit down. I would recommend to try to sit down first when it's the first time or first weeks you are planning, and write down what would you normally have. Create your meal plan as what you normally have and look at it. And
Mm.
actually, it's quite powerful exercise for people itself, seeing or
Yeah.
monitor for a week what you eat.
Yeah.
Make your and then sit down at the end of the week and look what you
Yeah.
can improve based on the principles that we talked about. And it's very powerful because people don't realize how much carbs, chocolates, crisps, snacking, things they don't want to have in it, and not necessarily problem, as we said, if it's no problem for you, but if you're trying to lose weight or you're struggling with energy levels, they will be. So just have a look. Be really honest with yourself, even if you don't want to show it to me.
Mm.
Really jot down everything you eat and have a look at it, and try to implement the principles, like removing things and replacing them with something healthier.
Yeah.
And just choose one day a week if you need to, or that one vegetable a week. So keeping it simple. And don't get me wrong, some people, and it's mainly male actually, they just go full in, and that's the only
Right.
way they can do it. Otherwise,
Yeah.
they can't make a change. But some people just say that, and it's not quite true. So it's up to
Mm.
me to kind of. So if you're that kind of person, scrap it all and just start from scratch. But most of the people, it works. Just write down what you actually eat and see where
Yeah.
you want to start
That's a really good tip.
improving.
I think anyone who's listening and who thinks, a lot of people that they kind of know deep down if they need to step things up with their food, if particularly if they've been sort of struggling a bit with stress or motivation through the pandemic, that'll be a really good strategy just to kind of, get it down on paper. Do you recommend them running the numbers through any apps or software just so that they know what it is, or
Not
because
not
not obviously
not
not
to.
everyone knows what is a
Mm,
carb and what is a protein and what is a fat, and
yeah. To start with, I wouldn't, because if again, it depends what stage the people come to see me at. Because if it's like really carb, malnutrition diet, I think it would be too much to try to monitor it as well, because it's just so much to work on. But if people are already nearly there and they just want to know whether they are fueling themselves enough, and yes, definitely, there is lots of. I'm sure my Fitness Pal chronometer, which I like using. They are very kind of interactive softwares which you can just find a UK food on it, and it will give you the minerals, the vitamins, the calories, so you can get a good idea. But again, if you are a person which is very much numbers orientated, you don't want to go from one obsession to another.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm very careful when I suggest that, and sometimes I do it myself for clients and just show them rather than ask them
Yeah.
to do it themselves.
And also, anyone listening, it actually Google is really good. Like if you just want to know, I use it quite often. I'd be like, oh, how many grams of carbs would be in that? I'll just type in the food and I'll just put the food and the macros and it will just come up. And it's just
Yeah.
takes like 5 seconds. So if there are foods that you're, a little unsure about and you're just wondering, well, I wonder what actually is in that food, then that's a really simple way of
Oh
finding
yeah,
out.
for that one, definitely. Sorry, I thought you were meaning like whether they are fueling and they are getting enough carbs and fat and in diet, which obviously you would need to know the whole picture. But yeah, simple as that.
Are there any
And don't
real
forget your
common
best
themes?
carbs are vegetables.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Are there any real common sort of, obviously, if you're looking at a lot of these food diaries, what are the most common traits that you see? Like, I know I can think of the ones that we see a lot of, but what are the ones that you see that need changing most of?
Breakfast.
Yeah,
Breakfast. I
toast, cereal,
Yes,
or
yeah, toast, cereal, biscuit breakfast, or breakfast biscuits. Those are the things. But even just the porridge on its own with milk,
yeah,
and then it follows by snacking, because that's how it's going to end up. If you, for people like me, I want my breakfast, because I've tried fasting to lunchtime. It didn't work for me. I was completely on the floor. I just need that first meal of the day. But I one thing, when there is a porridge person, which most of them are, I've not seen someone come and having egg, spinach, and avocado. Just it came in time. But even with porridge, simple thing like changing normal milk or cow's milk for alternative milk, and it's got nothing to do with being vegan or being not being a friend of dairy. But milk can have the same impact on us like a chocolate bar when it comes to spiking the insulin, and especially in the morning. So having just porridge and milk may lead to high glucose levels, which means that the insulin has to kick in, and then we'll end up with a slump half an hour later, and then snacking and topping up energy and going through the glucose up, glucose down cycle for the rest of the day. So it's one of
would
the
that
first
be
things.
affected by what they have with that meal, though? A
It's
little
just
bit.
milk itself can have that impact on people. That it spikes, just like if you had just banana for breakfast.
Yeah, yeah.
So
That's what I'm
if you
saying
if
though.
you
If you had
do,
it with, if you were having ingredients alongside with it, would it dampen the glucose response?
I don't know, it might, if it's enough nuts, seeds, maybe some coconut oil in it, and fat. Again, for me, it didn't work. I just had to remove it and replace it.
Mm.
For some people, it might. Again, it's a trial and error to try how you feel afterwards. Um, and yeah, just observe. Protein and fat will slow down the release of the glucose, of the sugar, to the bloodstream. It just
Yeah.
depends how your body
That is one of the things
can
that
deal with that.
yeah, that is one of the things that I do see the most often is the porridge on their own
Mm.
breakfast, and yeah, uh,
Which is
people.
amazing when it comes to keeping your bowel movement and getting fibers, soluble fibers, get the beta
Mm,
glucans in it for immune system, which is only that the mushrooms have now. So it's quite, it seemed quite simple and very kind of not interesting looking thing, porridge. And it's got amazing properties, the oats. So I certainly don't advise to change it if you like it. It's just what you have with it. Um, teaspoon of coconut oil or any other fat, ghee or olive oil. You can't taste it in it, don't worry, if it's just a teaspoon. Cinnamon, which helps the aid of the glucose. Seeds, I would have like a handful of pumpkin and handful of sunflower seeds in it as well.
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah.
there are certain meals as well where you've done the hard work. So like if it's a porridge, I mean it because a lot of people they use time as the excuse, right? So,
Yes.
but if
Yeah.
you've just gone to the extent of actually making some porridge oats, whether it's soaked oats overnight or just hot in the morning, then it literally takes like less than a minute to throw on some pumpkin seeds or add some chia
Exactly.
seeds
Yeah.
or a little bit of cacao powder or whatever you
Yeah.
want to add to
Yeah.
it. You
You can
know,
even add protein powder if you've got a good
yeah, I
tasting
like
one. Yeah.
that's my go-to is adding just half a scoop of protein powder.
Yeah.
Um,
And it
because
may negate
yeah.
that milk spike.
And then
You
like
can
the
take.
same goes with if you're having like tonight. I'm just thinking of like tonight we've got like a slow cooker curry on the go
Mm.
right now. So I'm looking forward to that tonight.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you have that, and then you know not adding any greens to that is just crazy to me because like you don't like
Yes.
you said you don't taste it. Like I mean not that I don't I enjoy my greens, but some people don't, and they don't realize that when you're adding greens to like stir fries and chilies and curries, that actually like you're putting more good nutrients into that meal, and you've done the hard work, you've made the curry, and it takes
Mm.
literally seconds to add the good stuff to it. So there's no reason why you don't need to get your
Yeah.
5-10 a day.
Exactly. And the just trick is to have it available, isn't it? So we are back
Exactly.
to
Yeah.
preparation and planning,
Yeah.
planning ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, no, fantastic tips there. Where can people find out more about you and what you offer? And you work predominantly with women, is that correct?
Yes, yes, I do. It's just what I know. It's close to me, and that's what kind of I seem to attract as well. But people can find me, male or female, can find me on my website.
Yeah,
If they want to know a little bit more about me, which is Sonka Braunova, simple as that.co.uk. But I'm on Facebook under the same name, Instagram as well. And if people didn't make a notes today, I actually have an ebook which is 20 pages of basically most of it what we talked about today and much more. Some breakfast recipes, vegetable recipes, how to cook them for the most common ones and some not so common one. All the principles, how they can find out whether they are lacking protein, fat, carbs. So it's much more everything basically they need to know to make the lifestyle change, and it really doesn't cost much. It's 11.22. You can get it on my website, and it can be life changing.
wow,
So it's
fantastic.
like having me in a pocket or on your phone all the time. So I definitely recommend that.
Excellent. Well, what we'll do is I'll get those links and we'll put them in the show notes of the podcast. So
Sure.
anyone that wants to check that out and check out your website, Sanka, they can do that.
Yeah. And
So
if
once,
anybody wants to work a little bit in depth, obviously they can contact me. I'm doing one-to-ones, and I'm also going to run now a group program for 10 ladies starting
amazing.
in March, mindset and nutrition, and kind of do it all together so you're not on your own. With like-minded ladies, so to have a little bit of fun with it as well, and I'll be looking with you on your mindset to make sure you can make those changes and retain them for
Fantastic.
life. So yeah, just get in touch.
Well, best of luck with it all, and best of luck with making that transition. It sounds like you're going to be moving into this like full time soon as well. So,
Yeah, I'm really hoping so because there's so much I can give, and I'm really excited and passionate about. So looking forward to it. Yeah. Thank you very much for having me. It was really nice chatting.
it was great talking to you, Sonka. Take care.
Same. Take care. Bye.